Hey there, it's Lloyd094. I'm here to make a quick video about Polywog. Before I get too into depth on this, first, this is not like a super in-depth video. It's mainly covering where the state of Polywog is right now. I'm not talking about gameplay or how that might go into it. Then I also am going to be opening a couple packs and going over some of the cards. I've previously already opened and sleeved an entire box, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on the whole status of things right now. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's talk Polywog. It's a Kickstarter that started in the wake of the MetaZoo success in it was funded October 16, 2021, with a due date or an estimated delivery date of June of 2022. That obviously didn't happen. Granted, I do have with me a couple boxes, which I backed or paid extra to get ahead of time. In total, I backed 26 boxes and some decks. Those decks no longer seem to be planned to being printed, so I'm curious to see what he does to change that or how it modifies things. I paid in advance to get 4 boxes delivered before anything else. We'll see again if he is able to deliver. It started off pretty strong, and he even had some neat extra promos. So his first set were the Valentine's Day. These were sold at 1 card a piece. It was 1 card, just 4 variations of that. Then we had Easter. Not sure if it was actually Easter before or after St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day was a set of 6 cards total, and then Easter was actually a significantly large box. I think there was in total 40-something cards, and they came in these boxes, and they were filled with 15 booster packs, and these were the 2 arts that you would find. One of the mini sets was delayed. This delay caused some issues, because it's holidays themed, it made it really difficult for him to sell it once they were later delivered. But the bigger problem with Polywog is that it was actually a mismanagement of some money, but I think based off my observations, it was not enough money, or rather that Kevin, the creator, did not expect things to cost as much as they did. He did not have all his finances actually planned out. He had the idea for a card game, he had the passion, he had the art, but he didn't have the business planning or knowledge. Now, of course, people right now are understandably upset. Only 500 boxes have been delivered so far, and they were only to those who could help pay for the shipping to get them in advance. And I do disagree with some of the way the community's gone about acting on it. But I mean, if you threw down a lot of money, I'd also completely understand being upset about not having anything, especially way past the deadline. Right now, it looks like Kevin is at least working on trying to deliver the Kickstarter pledges. He's trying to get some people to invest in him, and it sounds like that might go somewhere. He's also planning on some future sets. There's been some talks of it. I know it's upset some people because they're like, hey, we want our stuff first before you even make a next set. But it sounds like he's at least giving it a real shot. Some of this mismanagement, again, yeah, he messed up. There's some people who were upset that Kevin was paying himself. Honestly, if you're making any form of project like this, you should be paying yourself something. How much is, of course, another topic entirely. But I would never suggest somebody not pay themselves for making a project like this, and I think that is a bit out there. And it does, based off the numbers at least he provided, it did not sound like he was overpaying himself. But then you get into the issues of money now costs, or things cost a lot more. He was not planning on that, obviously, but it also sounds like he just wasn't ready to enter the card world, or didn't have enough experience or people to work with him that would provide him certain advice that he really needed. As a disclaimer, I am now officially involved in the Otherverse card game, and along with that, I've had the ability to work on design cards. These cards have a very nice template, but I think he made some design issues that he should correct in the future if he wants it to stay as user-friendly, and that's sort of the way I'm looking at it. And then just a couple complaints just as a normal collector or a person who likes cards too. Specifically, I am not doing this video to go over gameplay. Again, I have no experience with it. It looks at least interesting, but there are people out there who will make way better videos than I can right now, and probably have more time on their hands. Additionally, I'm not going to go into the collectability or costs of anything. My main focus on this was to create my own set because I like the art. So without further postponement, let's go into what I think on some of these cards and unpack a couple. Okay, so we have a full set of art right here. Before we open anything, I do want to show there's plenty of room around these packs. So if I shift everything over to one side, there is a good amount of room right here. There's also some room. There's some long, they seem to be sealed right about here and here, giving a little bit of flex room. I'm curious to see what they do in the future. They do say that you know, it's a game with a deck plate of 61 cards and does not provide enough cards to build a full deck, of course. This one here first. I do not like these pull tabs. I feel like they are in the wrong locations, and this is actually the best time I've ever opened a pack. Most of them I just cut because they're a pain, and I feel like maybe redesigning that location would be better. Okay, so first, the card quality is I mean, like the print is, it looks nice, it's good colors, etc. The cards seem to be pretty standard overall. There's a little bit of bend here from, I think, just the packaging, but the art is pretty good. I mean, like the art in it is one of the best things. It's the main reason I decided to back. I wanted a collection for myself. No, again, I don't know the gameplay on it. From what I've seen, it looks at least interesting, but I haven't really delved that far. But pretty standard. Each packs, at least of this set, seems to have 2 holographic cards with it, and some of those holographics have a chance to be full holos. So this one, here it goes. All right, we have 1 full holo. The pad pull, static shock is its attack. I mean, it's just pretty. I do not believe I've actually opened this one yet, so that's great, adding it to my collection. Do take note. It'll be easier showing with another card. But this is out of 103 cards, though that's not quite right because this is card number 105. So I think some of the full holo. Anyway, this is a standard holo card, and there is apparently one of every standard holo card except for certain cards that have full holo, like the full art cards. All right, I'm gonna open up another. To the side, and see, this is primarily what tends to happen, so it's much easier just having a set of scissors. And cutting the whole thing, not like what I did here. Oof. That's the first time I've actually seen damage that bad. I mean, I've seen a couple dentings on the card itself, but I've never seen this, at least from the previous box I opened. It looks like it was just not cut cleanly. And then it kind of tore off. Let's see if I can isolate that a little better. That's about as best as we're going to get. It might look like a little like water damage, but it looks more like it was cut and then the card was ripped off, leaving the white marks. Anyway, going through the standard, just go pretty fast. These are standard arts. And then 2 holos, very pretty cards. The art on it, really, it is phenomenal. They did a good job on that end. Okay, and I'll do one more. Should have just cut it. The simplest option I found is cutting it like this, and then they just slide right out. Okay, going through, pretty and 2 more holo. Now, okay. So first, let me address that one issue I had. I'm going to put some of these holo on the back. I'll sleeve them after, but I can't show you what I want to with them sleeved. These cards tend to be different sizes, and the holos are actually a little thicker. That's somewhat to be expected, but still not, in my book, not exactly ideal. Okay, so first, you can clearly tell which one is the holo. The thicker cards stock over here, and then the thinner one is the normal. They're slightly different color, but the cards are truly thicker. They're like 1.5 times, maybe 1 1/3 times thicker than the normal card. But then what I found a little bothering when I was sleeving things is, okay, so on this end you can see they're at least, it's really hard to get this down right. They're flat, just flatten it against the table. On this end, you can see, there's my camera, you can see that there are all sorts of different lengths, and some are wider, some are shorter. This is not as horrendous as some of the other ones I've seen. There were some that it looked like a sound wave almost. But yeah, there are definitely different sizes of cards in here. And so some, oh, there, that kind of, oh, come on, shows a little better. But there are some that are definitely longer than others. And you can feel the difference when you're sleeving the cards. Okay. Next, let's use Pininf. This one's a favorite. The card art is gorgeous. Again, they did a good quality standard job. There are some cut marks, of course, from the machine. It's not nearly as bad as MetaZoo, but you can see some slight curling. Let's see if I can get the light with it. Just very slight curling from where the cutting is. A lot of that is unavoidable, but some manufacturers do it better. Now, a couple concerns that I came up with. This one's not terrible, but when you start looking at the bottom, here, I'll do it this way. Down near the bottom, some of the words are not legible when it gets to the black, talking about who did the art. It feels like there's not enough of a border between the black of the letters and the white outline. So sometimes they kind of just get lost in there. This one shows off one of the issues I've had, though. Okay. The letters themselves, I feel like there's not a set template. Okay. And what I mean by that is, like if you're typing in Word, for example, you can use a font size. So 12 point is very standard for a lot of legal work. In this matter, it looks like they used like a certain type of font, and then they stretched, or like they expanded the text box itself to fit where they wanted to. And so while the letters might be different sizes, they certainly are, right? But this one tends to have a little blurrier letters. And that can make things a little obnoxious, because instead of looking really clean and sharp, it looks like it's like the print job wasn't great. And I don't think it's the print job. I think it's the design of the card using a slightly different size. Maybe this is like 12.25 font or 12.5 font instead of the standard that they used. And I've seen that happen when I'm working on other verse. I have access to all the files. I've been working on some of them. And sometimes there'd be like the box would be dragged out a little bit, and the size of the font would be different. And sometimes that can cause then the blurriness. One thing that's really cool, while these cards, the whole card is shiny, I wouldn't, if I had more control over it, I would say, hey, just make the art part shiny and the rest not, so it's easier to read. But I understand that can be maybe more expensive because it's extra layering on the printing. But one thing that's really neat, let's see if I can get the light, they are textured. So you actually have some parts of it that are fully textured, including that gold border around the card has a similar texture line. And you have a little bit around this orange bit for the name. And then, of course, in this one, this creature. That's a really cool touch. It makes the card seem a little more alive. But yeah, it can be a little difficult trying to read some of the text because the card itself is really shiny. But on their full arts, which are clearly the most gorgeous pieces, they have the same type of thing. They have the texturing, which is really nice. But this is also the type of card I have the most complaint on. Okay, so if you look at the words or the lettering, this is where they either needed to swap the white and the black outline, or sorry, go like a white inside black outline, or give more white around those words, or add a fuzzy border behind it to make it more legible. This can be really difficult to read, especially down in this green area, and under certain lightings. It's almost near impossible. Down here you have the same issues, and it seems like some of the smaller the words are, the little more whitening they have. So if you look near the bottom of this, these wordings or the font sizes are much smaller, so they have more white around them, and then they keep the same maybe padding level over here, but the words are bigger, so it looks like there's less padding around it. I'd try keeping the ratio about the same, or at least make it so it's legible. I mean, down here you have the illustrator. It's really tough to see in some ways. But those are a couple thoughts on them. Overall, I think the card art is gorgeous. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Again, they're just short. There's some observations, especially in some of the conditions, what to expect when you're opening some boxes or packs, depending on what you do. I hope this helped or provided some interesting insight for people who maybe not have the cards or in the inability to get those cards. And I really hope if you're interested that you're able to find some in the future. Thanks again. I'm Chris, or Lloyd094, from Obscure Card Collectors, and I'll see you next time.